He's gonna show us the bubble gain of utilizing the skills. So he's going to fill out the bubble with that, the E, and then use the march. Holy shit, that's one cycle. So he uses those two skills and then use the attack buff, use the sound holic, use the Prelude of Storm, and then use March. Just get that 3 bubble. Holy! You guys hear Saint always say like igniting, right? And then he always has the bubble ready for him. And then just to melt all those bars. It's crazy. That's Giga Bar right here. So as he was explaining, I mean, landing all of Sound Holics and landing all the March is going to be the troublesome part on a live fight because the bosses move around everywhere, right? So some of the tips that he wanted to share was if you use your Heavenly Tune, that also increases your attack speed, right? So the 3.5 second turns into 3 seconds. So you can actually combo them together to land your Sound Holics even faster. I kind of want to talk about skills a little bit more. You gotta tell me about this March thing. He's gotta show you how much it fills. Oh, is that why you were just running against the boss sometimes? Because I saw your character just running against the boss. That I remember. Yeah, because if you don't see the skill, it kind of looks like the bar is just running like an idiot. Right. And this marching is pretty good with heart marking as well, because you just put the harp down and then you just use your marching to fill up some bubbles. It's a good case was where you just stand behind the boss's back and then just use march, so that you can land the skills immediately. That's what he's been doing for our con runs. What are some of the other options? Because like you would use like sound vibration and stuff, because I try to use those and stuff. Right, I do that too. 90% of the bards put the sound vibration right behind the boss. So I asked about like sound vibration, and there's a lot of risks because, you know, it's a setup, and since meter gain is the primary objective for spec bards, utilizing sound vibration outside, they don't have like a luxury from a swiftness bard where they can just install it anywhere. A particular skill like this is not as a good choice. So instead, you know, provided the buff with the sound vibration decides to focus more on getting the meter gain. So he's been using the marching. Oh, so you're saying like a very counter important raids, you utilize the sound vibration for destruction. So basically what he has said is this particular skill set, he used it for con gate 2. Gate 2 is because gate 2 you need a counter skill, you need the Rhapsody to carry your guys, and then you use sound vibration for destruction, plus I guess providing, you know, the buffs at the same time. But the meter gain is going to be much slower. So those two skills that are missing for meter gain gives this much difference in terms of getting the bubbles. So I think the important part is you're supposed to be very versatile with the skills, moving around the skills. If you think that the raid needs a little more counter, like raid needs destruction, all these things, it is important for you to know which skill does what and which skill is disadvantageous, like advantageous to a certain situation, and pick accordingly. That's why Lostark has a lot of builds. So to go over this particular build, right? This was the spec bar that he used for our Brosha's static. So for this particular thing, he has chosen skills with this reasons. For example, the F skill, sound vibration, you use it has a little bit more value because someone like Z will stay behind the boss's back to do DPS, right? And for A skill, you have the stigma instead of the guardian tune. Guardian tune is particularly useless because we're over level for that raid, so getting hit there is not going to kill us, right? So you don't need that much of a care. So using that skill at the same time as well. And as you notice, he uses the Q skill, the sound shock, and sound vibration. Sound vibration, sound shock is the best combination of skill to pop your conviction judgment. It's really nice, right? And then you have the bong bong, and the R button is a sound holic that is for stagger. Because the red laser is for stagger, guys. The green laser is for meter gain. There's a stagger version that does the stagger, right? Yeah, so it does the most stagger. So you kind of wanted to cover stagger for some of the braille mechanics, so he has that to cover it up. As a spec bard, you utilize skills that cooldown is not as much impacted if you have high swiftness or not. So this particular skill like marching, if you have that tripod at level 5, which it decreases 7 seconds, but I don't know what the calculation is. But after he's done with marching, you notice the cooldown is only 7 seconds, and if you go full swiftness, it's only 5, so it's only like 2-second difference, right? Utilizing these kind of skills for a better meter gain tends to be a better choice, your skills to utilize as a spec bard. Oh, I see. So you see how fast that is? Faster that is? So basically, for Lustboy's case, instead of having a shorter cooldown, it is better to have a faster tick to cover, so you can react to it, if that makes sense. So for example, you know when we're doing a con hard, if you think your teammates are gonna get hit, you can react to it and give them the support, if you kind of know. But if you're using the Rhapsody, the slower version, you can't do it no matter how fast you react to it. Therefore, as for his choice of tripod for using the swiftness cast, it's a little the thing, because he can react to it and give proper care, because the speed difference is actually really high. I saw that, like, as in it just happens immediately. So if you don't have Galewind plus like if you go for the cooldown tripod, you probably have to have a foresight have a foresight to know when your teammate's gonna get hit. So you can't react to it. So I guess even if you have a shorter cooldown, it's not really gonna help you. Right, for example, like let's say your teammate gets hit, teammate's lying down on the floor. Oh, I have to save him, I'm gonna use my Rhapsody. By the time you use your Rhapsody, he already got all the damage that he wanted to take, so it's pretty useless. That makes sense. You probably have to use it quick so that he actually takes the reduced damage hits, right? I actually thought I used the cooldown too. I did not know that. Okay, I'm learning a lot too, guys, because like I wanted to play better on the spec bard. That's the point of this video too, for the YouTube Andes as well. Right, the Guardian tune. I used the fast cast too. The fast cast is nice. But the tenacity is also good, because if you don't want your buff to get cancelled, you use the tenacity. If you want to provide the buff as fast as you can to be reactive, you would use the fast casting on the right side. Yep, it's preference for sure. Yep. So it's chip damage. I see. Oh, I used the left one. I should change it. I've been using it wrong, guys. I didn't know it was the second tripod instead of the first one. So the concept of Guardian Tune is not giving defensive buff for a long period of time. Concept of Guardian Tune is because you get CC immune, right? For example, Khan Gate 3 has an Earthquake where a Khan jumps and then he smashes you and you get Earthquake CC'd, right? In order for you to get immune by that, you kind of see that animation of a Khan doing the Earthquake. You use that Guardian Tune so that even if they get hit, they won't get CC'd. However, if you think about it, if they are going to get hit anyway, if you use the first one, it's after the chip damages, right? So since he already did the damage, that shield's not going to do anything. But the second one, if you're going to get hit for the CC stuff, the additional defense is actually more efficient, because by considering you are using this to immune to CC, because you're assuming that he's going to get hit. So that's like the thought process for it, because you're kind of using this to have a CC immunity. Oh, I see. So MJ's Bard was using the first tripod and the second tripod on the CC one, but after doing the VOD review to increase the performance, Lustboy told MJ to use the first tripod for the third one, right? Because if you are planning to provide shield, right, for proper care, the first tripod does make more sense, because this particular tripod is to be CC immune for one attack, so you're supposed to use it when your party mates are in danger. You're gonna get take a big hit, like the Earthquake attack, right? But if you keep providing the fast hits, and then if your Guardian Tune is rotating much faster, it is better, even if it's a 50% less thing. What does that tripod actually do again? Can you highlight it? Right, so like it decreases even more on the cooldown, but it decreases the amount of shields that you get. But however, rotate it so much more and provide more shields, so you have much more leeway of having a bigger pool. So when she was using this together, because that's the identity of this particular skill, are you gonna use it to keep giving shields, or are you going to use it to block a big attack, right? So I think it's a very good point, because MJ did also say that after she has changed it into these, the party survivability went up a lot, right? And this happened is because, you know, the identity of this skill changed, as in you want to use it to provide more shields instead of being immune to CC, right? Because you can use battle items for that too. But it's a proper variation. I think that's important. It's important to learn the proper variation, because if you know the proper variations, you can have preferences, and then you can select it accordingly. So I think it's really important to know some of the like a proper like to know the proper variations and how do people use it and how to use it properly. Oh, I think we covered almost everything, guys, because like I don't think there's anything else. At least for important facts about spec bards. At least this is what I wanted to cover on details, because I kind of understand now how it kind of works. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works, I guess. And some of the builds, I think the one thing that we have learned here was there's so many different skills that you could use. It is very important for you to mix and match these skills and provide runes accordingly, and try to figure out what your goals are first. For example, this particular build that he has here, right? He has the Q for marking, he has the Soundholic for additional meter gain, he has the marching to cover up that additional meter gain, and then he has the W for shield cover, and then he has the Guardian 2 for additional cover. He always uses Rhapsody. Rhapsody is a really good skill for you to master to help additional carrying for a small amount of effort that you need to do. And Prelude of Storm, which is also the most meter gain that you need to have the most. And the S skill, the Heavenly Tune, is mandatory because of your attack buff, right? We've learned that if you use Heavenly Tune and Soundholic together, because of the increased attack speed, the 3.5 seconds becomes 3 for the same meter. So you can play a little bit more efficient. And within this position, if you want to add in, like, let's say a counter, right? Let's say you want additional destruction, you have sound vibration as an option. That's why you can move around all these skills accordingly. And the reason why you need all these skills is because you have limited options. As in, like, since you're spec, your buffs are concentrated so much that you can't really Pepega it like me. What you need to do is you technically play, well, if you think you want to play the easy way out, which I have been doing, you play the swiftness one. But for spec, since it requires so much thinking, so much knowledge to the raid to provide just that much more power, that much more DPS gains to your teammates. But you need to make sure that the party mates are aligned with you and have a proper uptime and have a similar uptime with you as well. I think this kind of summarizes everything. Because Lostway, when you say hybrid build, I guess I'm assuming like you added a little bit of spec, right? So technically I can kind of answer that, because I've said that you need about just about 1500, like 1407 to like 1500 swiftness to have max movement speed, including yearning, and you have the attack speed, etc., all that stuff, and then shorter cooldown, right? For swiftness bard though, you can, even if you have like a bunch of cooldown, like as much as you can, it kind of like overlaps, as in like having more from that point is not, you can't, basically the enemy, you get locked by animation by the time the skill comes back in cooldown. That's why you can't kind of move some stats, like let's say your swiftness stats, to spec, so that you get just a little bit more meter gain and just a little bit more efficiency on the attack buffs. That's why you don't call it hybrid, but like just make it more min-maxy, And the spec bard part itself is basically you're taking away all the cooldown, all the speed, all that stuff to just have a big push of power, big push of buffs, right? And that requires you to have, I guess the word could be like finesse, right?